Good afternoon, everybody. It's 1:30, so I think we'll get started. My name is Jessica Rorson, and I'm here with the Indigenous Business Development Services Program and with Sage Hill Community Futures. Before we get started, I just wanted to read a land acknowledgement. So as we gather here today, we acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. We pay our respects to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place, and we reaffirm our relationship with one another. So today we are here with Fionn, and she is the owner of Okiki Consulting, and we're here doing video content creations part 2. So if you missed part 1, I am happy to send you the YouTube link after this session. You can just throw it in the chat if you're missing it, and put your email address in, and I'll do it as we're kind of in this session today. After the session, there will be an automatic survey that pops up through Zoom, and if you could complete that, we really appreciate it. It gives us a sense of where you're coming from and what other training opportunities you're looking for in the future. With that being said, over to you, Jenny.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jenny Glessman, and I'm with the Sage Hill Community Futures Office. Just like to welcome everybody here on behalf of ourselves and the IBDS. We're excited to learn more about video content because it is the way of the marketing world. I will be muting myself, and if you hear lots of noise from my office, I want to apologize. We're having carpets put in today, so I'm going to try to stay on mute. So I'm going to turn it over to Fionn and let her lead us through, because I know we got lots of great content, and I know we're going to have lots of questions. So let's get going.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back. I definitely enjoyed our session last time, and I'm very much excited to hop back into things this time. And we're going to go over just briefly go over what we talked about last time and then kind of move forward. So based on your feedback, I have added a few things to this part 2 that I think will be helpful. So again, I just want to thank Indigenous Business Development Services and Sage Hill Community Futures for this time with you all. So last time we discussed promoting your brand, content foundations, and type of content for those of you who weren't here. So that's a really good place to start for what we're discussing today. And today we're going to talk a bit about brief overview of short form video creation on different platforms, really using targeting trends in this content creation and keywords, and paid versus organic content, and how that foundation from our last class of really knowing who your target audience is really informs that process as well, and especially for paid, so that you know that kind of ad spend is going very well for you. And then finally, just a little bit of some basics on ads foundations. Now, I will say there are a lot of platforms and they all have their own different ads. So I'm going to just talk mostly about like the Meta or Facebook kind of platform, and like kind of just some ideas for Google. But some of these ideas can really help with some of the other platforms as well. They each have their kind of processes, but this is just kind of, again, a start off on that process. And we'll have some Q&A. So for those of you who didn't meet me last time, my name's Fionn. I'm the CEO of Okiki Consulting, and what I'm really passionate about is helping brands tell their stories, especially through video content, and that's why we're all here today. And so now we're going to go over a brief overview of short video. Short form video is really the type of style of video that's blown up on all the platforms, or most of the platforms. And so today we're just going to talk about the different types and like what's kind of in each one, their time frames and things like that. So if you are creating on YouTube, I'm just going to back this up for a second, but if you're creating on YouTube, there's many things you can create on YouTube. Like we discussed last time, you can create lives and YouTube videos, but to create a short, and I think now there's a lot, I'm trying to remember the exact number, but there's like maybe like almost a billion shorts being created now. So it wasn't so big before. YouTube Shorts was created kind of in response to TikTok and all of that. So one thing with YouTube Short is it's something you can access through mobile. So that's why I paused this video. So if you have your mobile page, you see that plus sign, that's where you can, through your phone, upload a short. Within the app itself, you can pick a video or film one. You can choose the length. I don't believe it goes over 60 seconds at the moment. You can choose music. What I find with the YouTube short is that they don't really toggle between having two sounds at the same time. So I find that if you're creating a short and you want it to have, maybe you're talking over it with a music, it's either better to do that in an outside app and upload it directly, or you make a video where maybe you just want that music that the app has and you're not really hearing your voice. I'll play this quick video for you so you know what I'm talking about in a minute. And then for audience, this is kind of important for YouTube as well. YouTube in the past went through this whole thing with the American government where they got in a lot of trouble for not having kind of a way to gatekeep content for kids. And the reason I bring that up is because unless your content is directly for kids, like a cartoon type of YouTube channel, or you just directly making it for kids, it's better for yourself as a brand to, when you're uploading videos, to just say, no, it's not strictly made for kids, it's made for like a wider audience. Like I pick that option every time, so that if there's anything that could be, you know, that they would see as a problem for kids, you're not getting flagged for it, because they kind of put them through two different streams. That's another topic for another day, but there's YouTube Kids, and there's also like a way that they really try to protect kids through YouTube search, because they've had issues in the past of people using that kind of thing to lure kids to bad videos. So anyways, for that reason, when you're uploading, you have to choose your audience. And if your audience is a wide range audience, you just say, no, it's not for kids. And then you don't have as many issues with like ads, monetization, things like that. So that's just a practical thing. So yeah, so you have this, you can create your shorts. As I mentioned before, you can choose the length. So it's like 15 or 60 seconds. You can choose the speed. You can choose if you want a timer, countdown timer before the video starts. Sometimes people want that as well. And then there's effects. And then another aspect that I mentioned before is that, oh yeah, this is another thing. You can choose a green screen if you want. So if you want to have like a specific background, that's another feature. You can add sound, as you can see at the top. So again, that sound is based on the songs that they have available. With the copyright, the way it works with YouTube is that if it's an artist copyrighted sound, you just won't be monetized. And YouTube's done that forever. So if you want a sound that you know is basically copyright free, you kind of have to find those outlets to create that music. A lot of the times, the sounds from that app InShot, for example, that I brought up last week, would qualify for that, because they've already had like agreement. As long as you know, acknowledge the artist, like that won't get flagged. But often if you pick anything that YouTube already has on here and it's a well-known artist, it just won't be monetized. And maybe your goal for that video is just to get more reach and not be monetized specifically for a YouTube short, but that's just something to know. So that is for YouTube Shorts.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, so to create a YouTube short, it needs to be on the mobile app?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then let's say I have a channel of YouTube videos,
Mm-hmm.
and then will it just, from there, I can just create a short,
Mm-hmm.
and then use that in a reel or on social media somewhere to then direct people back to the full session?
Yeah, so the description part, I think it's not super long, but you can actually put something like a link in there, and you can say things like, Another thing actually I want to bring up, and I'm going to talk about it again, is like the titles you use in your shorts. Anything YouTube, just think SEO. So think, what would people be searching in my audience with that? So sometimes a short, and try not to make the short title the same as the full length video. So let's say, for example, you have a full length video on the topic and you're just taking a clip from it and uploading as a short. Try to make the title slightly different, or else it like doubles. Then yes, you can try and put the description isn't super long for the shorts, but you can try and put a link. And I do find that I have gotten some subscribers or people who've come to the channel because they saw that highlight video in a short. So it can be effective for that. And then to answer your question, yeah, I have done like, I've created like a short form video that I've uploaded to YouTube Shorts, Reels, and TikTok. So definitely once you have one, you can do different styles. So sometimes people will make it custom for each platform, and sometimes people will do it just one video that they already feel like it works for each one.
That's great. What would be the green screen? Sorry, what would be the purpose of that?
Yeah, that one's kind of for people who I guess have maybe more time and want to be more creative, but you can kind of put like a random background in that green screen. So maybe it's like you're trying to pretend you're at the beach or something, or just something like goofy creative. And sometimes people can use that to kind of animate their videos as well.
So I could, let's say this YouTube video that I'll have of you, I could have a green screen. I could upload a picture of kitties. I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean? And then
For sure.
And have you talking over top?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And the green screen's a feature that was introduced from TikTok. You'll find TikTok's originator for a lot of these. IG Reels has it, and YouTube Shorts has it. So yeah,
cool.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things you can do, definitely, if you have the time. Then we have IG Reels. So I know someone specifically asked for that. So similarly, you can pick a video or you can film one. Another thing, I'm just going to pause it quickly here too, is that as you're picking your music, the ability to pick like trending song or like something from an artist will definitely be impacted by what your labeling is on the account. So if you're labeled as a business or corporation, they actually won't give you access to these commercial music sounds. But if your labeling on your Instagram account is that you're an entrepreneur, then you can access any sounds. So, and that totally depends on how your organization wants to label itself. So maybe they do want to label themselves as a corporation and just be fine with the sounds that they get access to, but that's like a decision you can make. But that's just so you know. So yeah, you can pick a sound, you can upload the video, you can play with things like effects, you can play with things like the length, you can actually play with things like captions as well. So this is just an example of one that happened over the weekend. And then you can play around with the video layout. You can add different kind of stickers if you want. So there's a lot of features within a reel that are quite interesting. Just trying to see if I can speed it up here. I'll go back. So there's a lot of features within a reel that are quite interesting. And you can add a timer. You can also play with their effects as well. So it has a lot of similarities to TikTok. TikTok's still the most robust, but that would be how you start a reel. Now, I'm just trying to see how I can speed it up here. And it keeps showing me the next slide. Maybe I'll just let it play. Yeah, and another thing is that once you choose your lens, another thing when you're publishing your reel is that you also want to look at hashtags. So hashtags in your industry are really important too. And try not to pick hashtags that are just like what you would normally think. So like, let's say you own a car dealership. You don't want to be like hashtag car dealership. If you're dealing with your clientele, think about what would they be looking up? So maybe it's a type of car that you have that they're very interested in, or maybe it's the geography of where they are. In our case, we can go like hashtag YXC, you know, different things like that. And so that's when you're doing the actual text part of your video, that's what you want to think about. Here's another part I want to show, that you can add different types of stickers. Sometimes people could add polls, countdowns, and then you can decide, do you want to share this to your feed, or do you want to just have this in the real kind of universe? Then you also have, you want to tag people, or invite someone to be a collaborator. So this could be really important if your organization, let's say you're making an event and it's like 2 organizations are involved, and you both want to be able to comment and tag people and share it on your platforms and your stories and share it on both of your accounts at the same time. That's where a collaborator invite would be really good, because it'll publish to both of your pages at the same time. And then you can also tag people so they can also begin to share. Here, they even have topics for your reels so that it can really attract to the right viewers. So those are all the things you can do with reels. And as I mentioned before, this would be a good place to put your captions, put your hashtags, so that when you publish it, it's also attracting the right people. So that is for Instagram Reels, if we have any questions on that one so far. And I can't see the chat, but if there's any questions there.
There's nothing in there now. I'll just tell everybody, if you want, you can either unmute and ask your questions, or add them to the chat, because I'm watching the chat.
For sure. And for the people who are on the call right now, are you currently using YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels? And is this information new, helpful, different for you? Yes, would love to hear where you're at with that, and how often. Yeah, is anyone using Instagram Reels at the moment?
They're a quiet group today. There's nothing
Quiet
in
group.
the chat.
Okay, okay. Well, maybe that.
Oh, currently, we don't use any of these platforms. And another comment says, Jeff was on last time and he's saying not really.
Not really.
So,
okay.
So this is new to all of us.
Okay.
Well, maybe not Jessica, but it's new to me.
Okay, great. Yeah, no worries. Another one people might not realize exists is Facebook Reels. So not to be mixed up with Instagram Reels, it's a fairly recent thing. It's kind of pretty basic in terms of you can play with timing, effects. They've added their own green screen camera. Unlike Instagram Reels, because Instagram Reels, you can actually play with clips and add like captions and things like that. It's not quite there yet, but it is getting its own kind of viewership, and brands are starting to see, you know, if you get into the Facebook Reels world, there's a lot of Reels playing now, just the same way you could experience YouTube Shorts, the same way you can experience Instagram Reels, and it's becoming its own thing. So it's a newer one, but they have kind of like the basics of a video upload. For the music too, I think it's pretty simple. I don't know how much you can toggle around with sounds compared to Instagram. Something I forgot to bring about the Instagram one was that, let's say you do upload a video, you can toggle around with sounds. So you can have original audio and added audio, and you can, let's say you do want a mix of both, you can have that. So and as far as I know, that's not the case with Facebook Reels yet, but it does like a lot of basic things. And then TikTok, this is probably my longest little walkthrough video, because there's so much on TikTok. TikTok, you can now create videos up to 3 minutes long. That's not how they started, of course. We know it was like 15 seconds or 30 seconds. And now they've introduced 10-minute video if you've been on there long enough, which is really interesting. I think they're trying to compete with like YouTube, for example. And so, oh yeah.
We do have a question. Actually, there's a couple of them. Oh, one's TikTok. I'm going to start with the face. It says, how are Facebook stories and reels different?
Yes. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go back to the Facebook one. They
And then
are
we'll have our TikTok one after that.
yeah, they are different. Facebook Reels, just think of it like an Instagram Reel. So if you're on Instagram, you can do an Instagram story, you can do an Instagram Reel. They exist very differently. So like any story, it's only available for that 24 hours. It's like kind of a pop-up video that people can experience. Shows at the top of your profile, and once that 24 hours is done, that video is gone unless you archive it or put it in your highlights. Whereas with a reel, that lives on as content on your feed. Now, and how Facebook chooses to keep it on your feed is the part that's a little different, because I know with Instagram, there's at least that grid and you can find that stuff. Facebook is still a little weird with that, in that people could probably only find that short in the video section of your business page, because it doesn't have a grid. But that would be the biggest differences, I would say.
Hopefully that answers. The other question, it says, why TikTok video quality reduces sometimes when the video is played on YouTube without a watermark? How do you lose, how to not lose the quality?
So you're saying if you download a video from TikTok and you re-upload it without a watermark to YouTube, like the quality gets lost?
Yeah.
That's an issue with actually a lot of platforms. I find even if you do that with an Instagram Reel or other platforms, if I'm downloading a video directly from there and uploading it to YouTube, it will be like more compressed, because the app itself has a compression system that so that it can fit on there, essentially. So my advice is that if the quality of a video is a big thing for you, like you want it to be high definition, as much as possible upload directly to that platform, because platforms will automatically like compress them to some degree. So that's what I found in general. And even for Instagram, like if I want to put a high definition video on there, I had to put in the settings that I want you to take the full HD size and not compress it. So yeah, but there's a whole video. He has a really long name. It's like MKBHD or something, but he tested like uploading a video to YouTube, downloading that video from YouTube, re-uploading that video to YouTube. Like how many times could he do it before the quality of the video like completely disintegrated? So it's a very real thing that the platforms have their own compression system. Yeah. Anyone else?
That's all we have right now.
Cool. We'll walk through this a bit. So as I mentioned before, you have a lot of lengths to choose from with a TikTok video. The other part that's interesting about TikTok is that the app itself has a lot of features. TikTok really was the one that started off this whole vertical video experience. So within this app alone, you can see there's ability to split a video, play with speed, volume, rotate. You can add sound. And even within splitting clips, you can add captions. So, you know, if any of you have seen those videos where someone's like pointing to something and there's a word, and pointing to something and there's another word, you can actually do all that within the TikTok app. You can do that also within the Instagram Reels app, but the one on TikTok is much more robust, because they've just done it longer and put in that time and technology longer. And then you can play around with sound. So you can add a sound, and let's say you want some of the talking and some of the volume of the sound, you can have that in there too. So I'm going to see if I could speed up to that. Oh yeah, you could play around with speed, as I mentioned. You can split, and then the volume as well. And then what I want to kind of, yes. So, oh yeah, commercial music. So similar to Instagram, except this one is like a pretty cut and dry situation. If you are listed as a business person on TikTok, it's great because then it gives you analytics. but it won't let you have access to songs that aren't commercial free. Like that's just how TikTok is. So the only songs on this business TikTok I have access to are a lot of random audio that they just have cleared already. And they've mentioned that here. So yes, you will have a lot of options for sound, just not a trending song like that, unless you don't list yourself as a business person. And maybe you try to have another app as a means for analytics. But if you want analytics, which is helpful, just be okay to use other sounds. So that's one.
There's another question here. It says, if you're using Meta to post to Facebook and Instagram simultaneously, then that quality loss shouldn't happen, right? Just if you're crossing from one platform to another.
Yes, if you're uploading directly to the platform and it's a video you've already created, that should be fine. Again, with Instagram, though, I will say, because I've uploaded some high-end videos, that you do want to put in your Instagram settings in the back end to allow the high definition and to not compress it, because it will compress it to some degree otherwise if you don't tell it that. But yes, but the challenge is downloading a reel, downloading a TikTok, then re-uploading it to a YouTube. You're definitely gonna be able to notice like, oh, something's changed here for sure. So
I just have another question. So if I created some YouTube shorts, could I then upload them to TikTok and create like a TikTok with all these little clips?
Really good question. So with YouTube, are you saying, would you download that YouTube short and then re-upload it to TikTok? Okay. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Technically, you can. So
would there be another way to do that? Would it be literally easier to have it playing on my computer and be recording it on my phone with TikTok?
Yeah, I would say that could, well, it depends on how, again, you want that video to be. Like some people like videos of them recording videos, and then it's kind of like this effect, like behind the scenes thing. What I think would be the best thing in terms of quality is like, again, of course, if you are a business owner, do what you have the most time to do. So I actually think downloading the video from YouTube is probably the best to upload to other places if you're going to start from that way. But if you have one video that you've created for all the platforms as a short, then I would just upload to each one individually as much as possible. So far, YouTube doesn't have, from what I see, a watermark, but the other platforms do. So that's another reason why downloading from YouTube isn't so bad, because they don't seem to have that so far from what I've seen from the shorts. But that could become a problem eventually. So that's where you might want to upload directly to the platforms. And I know TikTok does penalize, like if you got a reel and then you just upload that reel to TikTok, like they'll notice it right away. And yeah, I think vice versa a little bit, but more so TikTok's very like picky about where that video is coming from.
So can you, instead of doing like a YouTube short, could you just pull like little clips off of your YouTube video and download those instead of doing a short, or is that the same thing?
Like, can you download clips from a full length video you've made and just download it? Yeah, I don't think YouTube has that capability, unfortunately.
I know, I've tried.
Yes.
I can't. Yeah, okay.
It would make people's life easier if you're like,
yes.
Oh, I want, like, yeah. And from what I've seen on YouTube, there are parts where you can clip to put to a short from your video. So maybe they'll let you clip a section of your video, make a short out of it. But it's all within the app, but nothing like off of the app. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I have like these 60-minute video, like, you know, YouTube, and I just want these little 5 seconds, or, you know, so I can then put them all together so it looks really fun and like, this is what we've been doing.
Yes, no, for sure. Those would be amazing features. And yeah, as far as I know, that's the only way YouTube allows you to extract for now. So
Okay.
yes, but that's a really good question for sure. Yes. And then just making sure I'm not forgetting anything. So oh yeah, so this ex was an example of me just adding like a jazz bossa nova kind of song. So I wanted it to have both the sound of the clip, but also the sound of the song. And so if you wanted to pick the song or if you wanted to pick the clip, you can actually control the volume of each. So maybe in some cases you want that clip to fully take over the sound. Sorry, the sound to fully take over the audio of the clip. In some cases you might want it mixed. Another thing with TikTok is that you can add it as a story. And then you could add it as a story. And then you can also add this TikTok video now, of course, as a TikTok video, just a regular TikTok video. Now, the part with this TikTok hashtags versus YouTube hashtags that I wanted to point out too is, sorry, versus Instagram hashtags, is that Instagram you could have like up to 30 hashtags. And these, again, when we're talking hashtags, we're talking about like the number sign followed by a word from your industry, something your target audience would be looking for. So I don't know if you're selling like, you know, baby clothes for moms, it could be like cute toddler clothes or something like that, where you know that the audience following that hashtag is looking for a very specific thing. So on Instagram, you can have up to 30 of those. On TikTok, it's a very different story. You actually don't want a lot of hashtags, like probably recommended, like maybe even 3 is okay, like 3 to 4, because their platform is super targeted in the sense that if I use TikTok, my TikTok looks entirely different than my sister's TikTok, than my mom's TikTok, because they've really tailored it to what you're experiencing. And so a key hashtag to use on TikTok is one called hashtag FYP or For You page, because the For You page for each person is literally like custom curated by TikTok for that individual based on the content that they've been consuming. So you'll always, that's a nice thing with TikTok, is that you'll always hit that audience. If that's your clear audience member and you use the For You page, you're showing up in a feed that's been created for them, and they may not know you before, but you're like right into what they're already looking for, because TikTok's already doing that hardcore analytics work for you ahead of time. So FYP, another one is For You page. And then I would add maybe like 2 more that are from your industry. Try to find one, and these numbers might sound really wild, but for TikTok is very normal. Try to find one maybe within the 1 million follower range. I know that sounds wild, but for TikTok, there are some hashtags that have 1 billion followers. And it's just like, that's just how the platform is. And so when it gets to 1 billion, you know, there's a lot of content that's being uploaded for that hashtag. So you're probably going to get lost in the noise, but try to find one. Anything anywhere under 1 million would be a really good way to get a lot of reach, but also not be too small. Anywhere under 1 million to like 100,000, like that, you see that that's the following of that hashtag, if that makes sense. And then that it's relevant to your industry, maybe have a couple of those, and then that will help with views. It also has the ability to mention people, tag people, put a location. So, and then also if it's very local, like sometimes people put Saskatchewan or Saskatoon, that has its own hashtag community where people are just talking about things happening in those areas. I'm just bringing up those because that's where I'm located, but I know people on the call are located different places. So there are like TikTok communities around that geography as well. That could also be very effective. So yeah, any questions about TikTok?
Nothing in the chat yet, I'll say.
Okay.
What
Okay,
are the
no.
stats like, Fee, in terms of TikTok? Like, obviously, like you talked last time, it's industry specific and audience specific. But I mean, there are traditional businesses that are now moving into TikTok. and I would imagine they're experiencing success with it.
Yes, for sure. So you're asking like what types of businesses should be on here?
Well, I think really any who want to do it, but I mean, in terms of, I have teenagers, like that's all they do, right? They just
Yes.
boom, boom. Oh, look at my For You page. Like I know all the lingo, but I've never done anything on there before.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've heard like Costco now, there's TikToks, like all
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
And so really it's like, hey, anyone, get your business on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna answer your question that I think O raised their hand. So
Yes, I
I
see that.
found, yes, I found that the numbers on TikTok are quite staggering. So ideally you're like TikTok is like millennial Gen Z kind of app. But then if the percentage of individuals above that who use it are still in the double millions, you know? So when you look at it that way, depending on what you're trying to achieve with your organization, it could still be a very effective place to be. Like if you have an e-commerce store and you do ship to different countries or different things, like, and maybe you do have a demographic that isn't the millennial Gen Z, you can still be hitting a lot of people through your content. So there's still millions of people in the other demographics using this platform, in spite of the majority of them being a much younger demographic. So I think that's one aspect people don't realize. And then the other aspect too is that, again, if you have different segments, so I know even though there's been a few rules changing, the government of Canada's been on TikTok, because if they're trying to reach the youth or, you know, for different programs, or talk about, yeah, just different kind of resources they have, it's a really great way for them to reach that demographic, which is still part of a general population they're overseeing. So I think it makes sense, like Costco, like there's a lot of moms on TikTok, there's a lot of mom talk or like kind of thing. And like maybe they want to really talk to them through there while they're getting entertained. And so it makes sense that a lot of companies and brands are moving there. And I think it's just, again, understanding who that segment is and how to best communicate with them. And I find a lot of companies are finding a lot of creative ways to talk to them, a lot of times through influencers, because the influencer doesn't make an ad that feels like an ad. They usually like allow them to make it into content that they would already make. And so it doesn't feel the same. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting opportunities and things I've definitely seen through the platform. But I would say, like, definitely once you have an idea of the staggering amount of people that are on there and how many people represent each demographic, you might have an idea. And if you know you go beyond local, it might actually be a very good platform for you as well. And sorry, I know you have a question as well.
Oh, yes. I just wanted to ask about TikTok description. How to like make your videos more searchable on TikTok? Does description matter? Because I saw some descriptions, they quite long, not just only one paragraph, but it's kind of like going on in depth, like a micro blogging sort of thing. And also the text that appearing like reflecting whatever person saying in the video. How can you do that? How can you automate that text? Whatever person saying, it appears in the video in the form of text, like different colors sometimes,
Yes,
emphasizing.
for sure. I'm trying to remember if I even filmed that, but once you do your title, you can select a cover, and then you can also go in there, and once you do your hashtags, I probably showed that too, For You page. And then, yeah, once you're going in there, you can actually pick through your cover. And if you want, you can have a word that's like a glitch word at the beginning, because you're right, like TikTok's like a mix of like the title and a mix of what people are actually seeing in the cover page, and that first few seconds, because if they're checking their For You page, they're probably going to see this cover and whatever glitch title you've picked. If they're just flipping through their phone, they're just going to see the video and it will just come to them because you put it on a hashtag that was relevant to them, or TikTok figured out through the analytics, like this is a type of video this person would like to consume. So really, I think definitely watching how your cover photo looks, like you said, looking at the title, and of course put some description. Yeah, and I wouldn't say you need to write paragraphs either for your description. Like I find if you have a brief description, again, searchable kind of thing of what your video's about. But I think TikTok really uses that like hashtag For You page, hashtags, and like you really want to think like what will make people like interested in the first couple seconds if they saw this, and that cover photo. I think that's a very powerful way to go. That. Yes, so if there isn't any other questions.
Nothing at the moment.
Awesome. Well, I'll just go into keywords and trends. So as I mentioned with YouTube, you really want to look at, unless you're bringing this video from another app, but if you're editing in-app, you generally have access to like one type of audio. Like I said, you can play with backgrounds, video length, tempo, and keywords in your title. So this is, to answer O's question, unlike TikTok, YouTube Shorts, you definitely want to watch your keywords in the title. You definitely want to make it like a SEO search term that you believe your audience would look up. Then when we go into Instagrams, we're talking about you can have within the app at least 2 audios, play with backgrounds, effects, video length, trending music, depending on what type of account you have, hashtags, you can have up to 30, and the ability to add captions. So if you're doing any of those videos, you can do that within the app. Then we have Facebook Reels, not to be mixed up with Instagram Reels. Kind of does a lot of similar things, but with minimal edits, and you have the ability to add stickers. And so that's another one. TikTok definitely has the most features. And yeah, mini intense effects. So something I didn't even get into in this video is the amount of effects you can do on TikTok. If anyone's used TikTok, it's like anything from like having different filters on your face, like it can go so far, and people can do a lot of really intense editing on that app. So transitions, things like that. So, and it has basically a lot of the other effects I had mentioned before. And now we're going to talk about paid versus organic strategy. So if you're using organic strategy, like I mentioned before, you want to really think about the trending hashtags in your industry or keywords in your industry. So really thinking about what individuals in your audience would be looking up in their situation. If they're looking for you, what would be the types of things that they would follow? So try to think about it less like what you would choose and more like what would your audience be looking for if they were looking for you, because you might be doing it backwards then. But if you're, if you have, a home decor store and you're selling like really nice products, it might be like, candles for hashtag candles, hashtag, just look up, try and pick words that that they would be searching for if they're searching for your products. And then in terms of organic strategy, similarly, if you really know who your ideal client is, you're probably able to follow them too. So when you're on these platforms, especially like Instagram, TikTok, and if you see people who you're like, yeah, this person, and again, this is something, of course, if you have a little more time for, or someone in your team, they can actually begin to start following people who fit that demographic too, or who fit those target audience segments, because they can maybe see from their content or what they're liking that they're already interested in what they would be producing as content. And so that's another way, again, to build your audience organically. And then resharing it on local forums that you're part of. So it could be Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, just what Facebook chat groups, anything that you think like, again, you would find those core audiences. I didn't put in LinkedIn groups that also exist. So there's anywhere where you feel your core audience would be. And also in terms of your video content, you can also reshare to those forums as well. So maybe it's a video you've created and you know people would really appreciate it on these different platforms. You can reshare those content videos you created, get more views, and be sharing something of value as well. And
Jeff has a very good question, and he said, what about following your competitors? Is that effective or counterproductive?
yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing, actually. It's really good for analytics. And if people want to get really into analytics, like a platform I've used for intense data analytics for social is Sprout Social. And there's a whole section on for competitors, and you can add them and it'll actually like show you like how much they post, how many followers they have, what's their percentage, as much as possible, of engagement from what they can see from the outside. Of course, they're not on the inside for them, but they can kind of gauge like, okay, they get this many likes per post or this. And so I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it could be helpful, especially if the followers of those competitors are similar to the followers that you think would follow you. And then from there, try to extract what your unique voice would be in that, because again, you don't want to seem the same and you do want to speak to your audience uniquely. And it might just be a very exposing thing to be like, okay, you know, this competitor gets this type of client, but they're like in this demographic and, you know, this income, and they're missing out on all these other people because they're not speaking to them. So maybe I'm going to speak to those people. And so like, again, try to find those ways that see what they're doing. Like if they're posting, you know, more better content, you're like, okay, I need to like step it up in that way. But at the same time, distinguishing yourself, I find that's the best. So I think it's all, if you have time to do competitor audit, you can have like 3 or 4 competitors that you're like actively looking at their engagement over the past couple months, what posts got more views, what posts didn't, and that could also inform your content as well. Yeah, and then to this, again, if you have an email list, you can also share with them if you've posted a new video on YouTube or Instagram or anything, and it could just be part of the, oh, here's an update, or here's some things I had to say, because again, it's as great as it is to get emails and like written information, it's also nice when maybe you're teaching something or sharing info, and because people are already used to interacting with video, you can like link it in that, and it can become like an interactive email as well. So that's also a good idea for your organic strategy. So just a recap on that, try to really go with trending hashtags or keywords as much as possible. Follow your ideal clients. It was brought up to look at your competitors. That's another way, just for content planning in general. Reshare to local forums and share to your email list. And then with paid social, so I bring this up after because of course, organic should be your branding, knowing your target segments, and your organic, and really testing that should be the foundation before you even start paid, so that you aren't just throwing money out there. And that's really important, because when you know who your ideal client is and you know kind of the content maybe that they respond to, then you can start putting some money behind that. And that way, because you know, Facebook will always say, oh, do you want to boost this post, or do you want to boost that post? And you're going to be able to objectively figure out, should I be doing that? Should I be throwing money in that direction? You know? So for example, if you only sell local, any ad you do should be targeting locally, for example. And if you know you have very specific audiences, that's what you should be choosing too. So if you're just boosting a post and there's no direction to those audiences, that's definitely money that could just be going everywhere, you know? And so that's another thing. Also to consider a paid strategy is local outreach as well. Local influencers, in some cases, news or PR could work for some of you. Blogs, newsletters as well. And so types of ads and platforms to consider: Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. influencers. I put Facebook here because Meta is kind of like, or Facebook kind of combines, like they kind of have like this mainframe that controls both Facebook and Instagram ads. You can do an Instagram ad directly from the app, but if you really want, again, the data, you probably want to do it from the Facebook Ads Manager, which I will actually briefly show in this presentation in a minute.
There is just a comment. Jeff was making a comment. It says we boosted posts 7 years ago, but stopped. It's cheap, but don't know if it sometimes we should do without historically understanding or some guidance.
Right, for sure. Yeah, they can be really cheap as well. Definitely, especially if you really know where it's targeting. And the nice thing is you can choose what that budget is, so you can also test ads as well. So yeah, definitely, but definitely having a more direction and knowing how effective it is will help. So that's kind of, yeah, what I'll kind of get into in the next slides here. So like ads foundations. So the two I'm going to really kind of talk about are Facebook ads and Google ads. Now Google ads I won't get fully into, but I'll just talk about the basics of what you should look for and how you can use the ads manager for search. So with Facebook, you will need a business page. You will need to connect it to a credit card, and that will give you access to an ads manager. So I'm just going to briefly show you mine so that you have an idea of what it looks like. So I've already gone into mine, and I've done this for, I have a lot of different pages I've managed in the past in terms of this, although these days I just focus more on the video content creation. So, but in the past I've done this management for people, but essentially you're going to get to go in and pick all sorts of objectives. So the basic, I think, to start with is awareness, and that can count for reach, brand awareness, video views, store location. And then from there, the part that gets interesting is you can pick a name, you can pick the categories. If there's special ad categories, you can A/B test. So next, and this is the part I'm really gonna get into today. I have different pages I've managed, so I'm gonna drop down and see. Yeah, so I could pick, or I've managed in the past. But anyways, when you get in there, you can pick your daily budget, and you can pick how long if you want to end time. This is the part where I want people to pay a lot of attention to, is that you can actually have custom audiences and save the audience after. And that's where things like knowing your demographics is really important. So for example, if you do an ad and it's just Canada, like if that's good for you, that's good, but maybe you want to get very granular and say, you know, like where you're based, for example, and have it within that radius. And then maybe that way you're gonna get way more for your money because it's within those radiuses. Then you can also, and it'll show you how much you're reaching with that. The key is to try and get this under 100,000-ish as much as possible. It could, yeah, that's where you're getting a little bit more for what you're adding. Then here you pick age, if applicable, genders, and then details talks about all those things we talked about, like what are they interested in, what are, you know, what would they be looking up, what types of content are they looking for. You can put details like that in your targeting as well to get it more targeted. And you could even choose where you want the placements to be. Often they'll just automatically have placements, but let's say there's certain placements you're like, I don't want it to be there. You can customize that as well. And so that's kind of where that targeting really comes in. If you do this from the Facebook side, the boost post side, there are places where you can choose the audience and the location and demographic as well. It just might not be as granular as this, but you can do that to some extent. So I really encourage people to not just boost an ad and have like money going, like really look at some of these aspects, and also look at the performance as well. So Facebook will usually let you check on a performance of a post, and I would really look at like cost per click. And if you're getting at least under $1, then that ad's probably performing well. A really good ad is if it's like, you know, like under 75 cents per click, like that's a really like, okay, that's really connecting with your audience. So just look for things like that, because it just means that people are interested. And again, you may want to test this. So that's from like the back facing side to make it ads manager. Again, if you're on your page and you boost an ad, there usually is a section where you can also pick audiences, pick cities, things like that. It's like a micro version of this, but they definitely let you do some kind of playing around with the detailed targeting, and just make sure you use it as much as possible if you don't want to get into here, so that you have that. Just look at the time. I'll just quickly go into our last one here. So we also have Google search. I won't go fully into Google search today, but I have a tutorial for you that you can link up. And another thing to use when you're using Google is Google keywords. So another thing with Google keywords is when you have a Google Ads account, it allows you to look up keywords that you think your target audience would be looking up, and see how many searches those keywords had in a month before you even pay for your Google keywords. So the idea with Google search is that you're picking words that your target audience would be looking up, and then you're paying to be the top search when they search for that word. So that's why you really want to know what type of words, keywords your audience is looking up. So Google keywords, when you have a Google Ads account, will tell you like, let's say have a flower shop and you're like, oh, I want to see how many people are looking up flowers. It might tell you, yeah, this gets searched actually 10,000 to 20,000 times this month. Like this actually is a decent amount of search. Or it might say, actually, the word flowers only gets searched 1,000 times. So it's not very high. So then it'll basically give you guidance as to, again, what words you want to put money behind. So that's if you have a Google Ads account and they have Google keywords. And finally, another place you can test is Google Trends. This one you can access whether you have an ads account or not. So I'll just briefly share it. So in my case, I'm going to use an example. I'm going to look up video content and just see like who's looking up video content in Canada. So in the past 12 months, it's showing me, okay, like British Columbia and Ontario have had like a lot of searches, and these seem to be some of the breakout topics within that. And they're looking up a lot of stuff on Prime Video. So I'm going to pick British Columbia just to see even a little bit more where are most of the searches coming from. Oh, it seems to be Vancouver. Okay. And what are they looking up? Message, video editing, streaming video. So this also can help inform some of the keywords, not only for Google keywords and Google Ads, but even for the titles you put in your YouTube videos or YouTube shorts, because if you know this is what people are looking up, like for me, that's helpful to know. That's helpful information. And that's something you can just access with any Google account is Google Trends. Google keywords is way more granular because you're paying for that account, but this is just something that you can have access to right away. So those are the things I wanted to share today. And I think we just got to the end. And yes, this is a brief overview of what we covered today, short form, targeting keywords and trends, paid versus organic, and a little bit about ads foundations and how it correlates with you knowing your target audience. So yeah, thank you again. I feel like the time has gone very fast. And yeah, open to some Q&A if there's time for it. But
Hey, it's Jeff here. Can I ask a quick question rather than type it all?
yeah, for sure.
Like we're using Google Trends to see if the world is looking for Taylor Swift, but how would that apply to your business and my business to try and, like, we're not tagging along with Taylor Swift. Would I search to see if there's interest in a new Chevrolet Silverado electric vehicle, that kind of thing? Or
Yeah,
what do you?
absolutely. So in my example, I typed in video content and just to see, because that's what I offer. And people were looking up video content the most in British Columbia and Ontario. So they always put Taylor Swift as an example because they want to show you what you can look up. And then also when I looked up in British Columbia, what's the titles that they're looking up the most? It's video editing. So I guess there's a lot of people in BC who are curious about video editing. So definitely for yours, I would pick like, where are they looking up the name of the cars that you have, for example, or what are they looking up about it? Or maybe it's car dealerships and maybe there's a lot of searches in certain regions and that can kind of give you some ideas as well. So yeah, it's just kind of a nice exploratory thing to know like what topics are people looking for that impact your industry for sure.
Hey, thank you.
No problem.
Do we have any other questions? So I will be sending this presentation out after, and also the recording if you think that you've missed anything. And thanks everybody for joining. It was great. You're so full of knowledge, Fian. You can definitely tell that you're an expert in this industry. So it's great. And like I said, there will be it's 4-question survey after we're done here. And that is it for today.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's been super fun to share with this group and just hear the different types of industries and questions. And I will be sharing the slides from both sessions with this organization as well. So definitely, if you have to look back at anything, it'll be there for you.
Perfect.
And thanks, everyone.
Thank you.